All right, Mr. Hill. It's a true honor to have you. I'd love to dive into one of your principles that seems so straightforward on the surface, but I suspect has layers of profound depth. Organized planning. If you were to explain it to someone hearing it for the first time today, where would you begin?
I'm glad we've arrived at this point, Dr. Sinclair, because this principle, it is the very backbone of all achievement. It's quite simple, really. You consider an architect. No rational architect would ever break ground, not a single shovelful of dirt, without a complete and flawless blueprint, would they? Every brick, every beam, every window is accounted for long before the work begins.
So it's akin to a blueprint for one's desires?
Precisely. A blueprint for your ambition. You must know exactly what you want, not in vague terms, but in meticulous detail. And then you must create a definite, step-by-step plan to get there. Who must you align with? What resources will you require? How much time will it take? What is the first step? What is the 100th? That plan must be your unwavering guide.
Unwavering, that's a powerful word. So what you're saying is, before we even make a move, we must visualize the endpoint in all its detail and then chart a direct, undeviating course to get there, a kind of roadmap that we must remain loyal to. Is that right?
Exactly right. Loyalty to the plan is the key to pushing through doubt and adversity. When all seems foggy, the plan is what tells you where to place your next foot. Without it, you are merely a ship lost at sea.
That is a powerful framework. And in the industrial world you inhabited, it makes perfect sense. A world where you were building a bridge or a steel mill. The blueprint had to be perfect. The cost of error was catastrophic.
The nature of achievement has not changed, Doctor.
Perhaps not, but Mr. Hill, our world today moves at the speed of light. We live in the age of startups and technology. And one of the most sacred concepts in our world is a word called the pivot.
A pivot? That sounds like a deviation from the plan.
That's precisely where the question arises for me. Many of today's most successful companies, a company like Instagram, for instance, began with a completely different plan. They were originally a location-based social app, but the founders noticed that their users were only engaging with one feature, photo sharing. So they pivoted. They threw away the entire initial plan and focused everything on the photos. Had they remained loyal to that first blueprint, they would have vanished into obscurity. My question is, in today's unpredictable world, doesn't that insistence on a detailed initial plan become a trap in itself? A kind of cage for innovation? Doesn't that loyalty to the map prevent us from adapting to the new realities we discover along the way?
A truly brilliant question. You've struck the very heart of the matter, Dr. Sinclair. You see, you're mistaking loyalty to the plan for blind stubbornness. They are not the same thing at all.
That's fascinating. So, what is the distinction? How does one know if they're being faithful to their purpose or just stubbornly clinging to a failing plan? That seems like an incredibly fine line to walk.
It is. But the nature of the disappointment in each case is different. Let me tell you a story about a man who was a master of walking that very line. A man the world remembers for a single invention, but whom I admire for his persistence in redesigning the plan. Mr. Thomas Edison.
Ah, the famous story of the 10,000 attempts to create the electric light bulb. I've always wondered how any single person could endure that amount of failure.
You see, that right there is the universal misunderstanding. People say he failed 10,000 times. That is fundamentally incorrect. Mr. Edison never failed once.
How is that possible? Is this story untrue?
The story is true, but your interpretation of the word failure is flawed. Edison wasn't failing. With every single attempt, he was testing a plan. He had a hypothesis that a filament made of, say, a carbonized bamboo fiber of a certain thickness could withstand a current and burn bright. That was a small plan. He would execute that plan with precision. And when the filament incinerated and darkness returned, he didn't fail, he simply acquired certainty.
Certainty of what?
Certainty that this specific plan does not work. He had discovered one more way not to invent the light bulb, and could cross it off his list. That is not failure. That is the acquisition of knowledge. That is data collection.
So, every unsuccessful attempt was actually a new data point.
Precisely. And here is the critical point. After each so-called failure, he wouldn't just rush back to the workbench to blindly try another material. No, he would return to his planning desk. He would sit in his chair. He would take notes. He would analyze. All right, the bamboo filament at this thickness failed at this voltage. Why? Was it the material, the thickness, the electrical current? His next plan was born from the intelligent autopsy of the last one.
My God, that changes the entire narrative. It was a systematic process, not a desperate gamble.
It was a cycle, Dr. Sinclair. A perfect, relentless cycle of idea, meticulous planning to test the idea, execution, observation of the results, and then most crucially, review and refinement of the plan. What you in the startup world call a pivot, Edison was doing every day in his laboratory. But he didn't call it pivoting. He called it progress.
So, the 10,000 attempts weren't a story of failure. They were a story of 10,000 intelligent course corrections. Each attempt that didn't work was a piece of the puzzle showing him what the final picture was not.
Precisely. He was eliminating the wrong maps to find the one right map. His purpose, to light up the world, that was non-negotiable. It never changed. But his plan to get there became thousands of times more refined and more intelligent. That is the difference between loyalty to a purpose and blind stubbornness toward a plan.
So what I initially perceived as a weakness in your principle, that seeming inflexibility, was actually its greatest strength all along. I was looking at it completely backwards.
Go on, Doctor.
I thought you were saying, create a plan and cling to it no matter what. But what you're really saying, if I understand you correctly, is create a plan, execute it with everything you have, and be fully prepared for it to fail. That is a revolutionary thought.
Be prepared for it, and more than that, welcome it. Welcome temporary defeat. Dr. Sinclair, let me tell you a fundamental truth. No one, and I repeat, no one is intelligent enough, prescient enough, or wise enough to draft a perfect plan from the start. It's an impossibility. It is a delusion that the fearful hide behind as an excuse never to begin.
So, what is the point of the initial plan if it's destined to be flawed?
The true purpose of the initial plan is not to deliver you flawlessly to your destination. Its true purpose is to get you off your chair and into motion, to compel you to take the first step. Because that motion, that action, forces a collision with reality, with problems, with unforeseen obstacles, with hard truths you could never see from the comfort of your armchair. And that is where the real power of this principle is revealed.
The power of confronting reality?
The power of using failure. You see, failure is not a wall. It is a signpost. It is a signal from reality telling you, friend, this part of your map is wrong. It needs to be redrawn. A successful person receives that signal and says, thank you for the information. They pull out the map and improve it. An unsuccessful person, they take it as a personal insult. They feel foolish, they become discouraged, and they abandon the entire journey. The entire difference lies in that single reaction.
Wow. That's extraordinary. That perspective transforms failure from a terrifying, paralyzing event into a simple feedback mechanism, an essential navigational tool.
Precisely. When a great explorer realizes he's on the wrong path, he doesn't sit down and weep. He corrects his course on the map.
We talk so much about failing fast in the tech world today, but I think we've lost the original meaning. The goal isn't to be reckless and fail. The goal is to learn fast, and that rapid learning is impossible without that constant, intelligent review of the plan. It's exactly what Edison was doing.
Exactly. The power of organized planning is not in the static paper map. It is in the dynamic process of planning, executing, encountering temporary defeat, and intelligently redesigning. It is the process that matters. That process is what forges you from an ordinary person with a wish into a resilient, unstoppable leader who can weather any storm.
So that whole initial challenge I brought up about startups and pivoting, it wasn't a challenge to your principle at all. It was actually a perfect modern-day example of your principle in action. I just didn't have the right framework to see it.
Please explain. This is fascinating to me.
When a startup pivots, they aren't abandoning the quest. Their grand purpose, say, to solve a major problem for their customers, usually remains intact. They are simply announcing to the world, our first map didn't lead to treasure, we've learned from it, and now we're launching with Map 2.0. It's precisely what Edison did, just on a radically compressed timeline.
Yes, the words change, Doctor. Pivot, agile, sprint, these are the labels of your era. But the underlying principle, intelligent persistence toward a definite chief aim, that is eternal.
Intelligent persistence. That's the perfect phrase for it, because persistence alone can just be foolishness if it's not paired with learning and course correction.
The only significant difference, as you noted, is that technology has accelerated the cycle of plan, execute, review. What might have taken Edison months of painstaking work, a software team can now accomplish in a single week. But the essence of the process, the spirit of it, remains identical.
And I think the most powerful implication of this perspective, the part we often forget today, is its profound psychological impact. This view completely dismantles the shame associated with failure.
Shame, yes, the most potent poison for ambition.
Exactly. When you deeply accept that the initial plan is supposed to be flawed, then its failure is no longer a personal tragedy. It no longer means, I am a fool or I am not good enough.
It simply means
my plan was not good enough. It's such a subtle shift in language, but it changes everything. It reframes the experience from a personal judgment to a strategic problem. It allows you to focus all your energy on fixing the map, not on blaming the driver.
you have hit upon the core truth. The greatest single enemy of human achievement is the fear of judgment, the fear of being labeled a failure. But when you redefine failure not as an identity, but as a piece of data, a message, a temporary course correction, that fear loses all its power over you.
And that's when real creativity and problem solving can begin.
Yes, and when fear steps aside, the mind is liberated to ask the most powerful and productive question in this entire process. All right, what's the next plan?
That's such a powerful question. So, for the person watching right now, Mr. Hill, someone who's feeling stuck on a project, or is afraid to start a business, or even just hesitating on a personal goal, how can they put this process into practice in their daily life? What is the actual first step to designing the next plan?
An excellent question, because these principles are useless if they are not applied. The method is far simpler than you might imagine. First, stop thinking in terms of 5-year or 10-year plans. They are often overwhelming and lead to paralysis. Start with a manageable time scale. For instance, 90 days.
90 days. 1 quarter. That feels digestible.
Precisely. Define one primary definite objective for the next 90 days. Just one. Then write a simple general plan to achieve it. Just the major steps. It does not need to be perfect. This is your initial map. But that is not the critical part.
What's the critical part?
The critical part is the commitment you make to keep that plan alive. Every week, say on a Friday afternoon or Sunday evening, schedule a non-negotiable 15-minute appointment with yourself in your calendar. Call it the Weekly Map Review.
A standing meeting with myself to review the map.
Yes, and in that short meeting, you ask yourself just 2 simple questions. First, where did my plan fall short this past week? Answer this with honesty, but without judgment. Second, based on that feedback, how can I make my plan for next week just 1% better? What is one small adjustment I can make?
That's it.
That is it. That is all you need. That small weekly cycle of action, feedback, refinement is the engine of all progress. It is precisely what Edison was doing in his laboratory. You are turning failure into a tool, not a destination.
A weekly map review. It takes the terror out of grand, intimidating plans and turns it all into a living, breathing, dynamic process. You know, Mr. Hill, after this entire conversation, I think I've landed on a new metaphor for planning.
I'm eager to hear it.
In the end, your plan isn't a Sigrid text written in stone, never to be altered. Your plan is a modern GPS. You plug in your destination, and it calculates what it believes is the best route. You start driving, trusting the path. But sometimes, because of unexpected traffic, an accident, or a closed road, the device calmly, without any judgment, gives you a simple notification: rerouting. A good driver doesn't get angry at the message. They don't take it as a personal insult to their driving skills. They don't pull over, get out of the car, and cancel the entire trip. They simply trust the new path the GPS provides and keep driving. Because they know the destination hasn't changed, the path to get there just got a little bit smarter.
That is the single best description I have ever heard, Dr. Sinclair. The very best.